make silk bandages, I wanted to talk about. There's a topic on my mind. It's the monetization of games and private servers. And I think I'll focus more on private servers for this because one, we're playing it, and private servers are a different beast than like a company making a game. But how should these private servers be monetized? This is like a thing for debate, or it's up for debate, and a lot of people have opinions. And there's an idealistic version that like a donation only private server is the best. Donations only altruistic private server is the only one that we should play, and it's the best. And I would agree that in an ideal world, a private server where that's hosted up by a team that just loves the game and they don't do anything shady behind the scenes, and they sell, or they just have donations, they don't sell anything else, and it's just blizz like 1x whatever, blah blah blah, basically the NOS model. That is like ideal in an ideal world, but there comes a problem with that. What the hell? Okay, we're back. So the problem with the Nostalrius donation model is that these servers are expensive to run, and not just in the server. I'm not talking about like just the server host. Maybe even the server host only costs $100 a month, but there's a ton of especially when bots banned and everything. There's a ton of moderation and time that has to go into setting this shit up and keep it running, answer tickets, and make the players have a good time. And when you're relying on donations only, you may be just breaking even, or even if you're getting like maybe $1 fucking an hour to do this, that's gonna cause a motive for people to do shady stuff. And the Elysium incident was a perfect example of that, where people were selling stuff behind the scenes because I mean, at the end of the day, I would not be making a server and making no money off of it, or just breaking even, because unless I was already super rich. But especially if I'm from a developing country, like I'm gonna be honest, I can completely understand why they do this shit and why this stuff happens. And maybe I'm just projecting my viewpoint and my inner desire for being financially rewarded for the work I do. Maybe that's a projection on my part, but I think the normal average thing that almost every person who is in that situation would do is do some shady underhanded shit to profit from their time. If there's a way to profit, they're gonna profit because they don't want to work for free, and I can't blame them. I'll be honest. So that's not that I'm excusing the ways they go about it, but this is why I don't have a problem with cosmetic shops on private servers, and I think it's honestly better, because if there's a more open and transparent system, for example, if they had like a shop where they sell mounts and pets, a lot of people hate that, and that's its own problems too. There's basically people spending time developing quote unquote content, and they're not putting it in game as a reward you can earn. And the reason a lot of people feel so strongly about this is because with an MMORPG, everyone starts off at level 1 with the same stats, no gear, so it's like a way for everyone to start on the same page, and it becomes a way that whoever puts in the most work, soul work and effort, is going to be the best player with the most things, right? That is why people like MMORPGs, and that is why people like uh, no cash up, no pay to win. It's because the real world is not like that, and the MMOs kind of give you a taste of what that is like, and it's a very Western way of thinking, and I tend to be in line with that when it comes to gaming. I feel the same way. I like when games are like that, but at some point you got to accept that people also got to make money, so we have to figure out what's the compromise here. What's the best way to keep the integrity of a game intact while also uh, fulfilling the need for creators to have their profit, like to have their profit and be able to buy food, pay for their rent or whatever. And to me, I think a good compromise is a cosmetic shop, because The box copy and subscription model that Blizzard did for the longest time comes with its own set of consequences. And that one of the consequences of the way gaming used to work was everything was about selling a retail CD in a store. That was how people made their money back in the day. And there's a lot of pros to that system, but there's also a lot of cons. Because the reason the expansion model exists is because of that retail, like the store selling the CD. You have to make a bunch of stupid ass features and make things more exciting than the last time, just to garner sales, to garner the hype, to garner the interest in the game. So they added a whole new continent, a whole new world, a whole 10 levels, and it basically made the old world obsolete in a lot of ways. And a lot of these expansion ideas are not super healthy for a long-term game, right? So they keep having to redesign systems. And I would say a late stage, like the late stage freaking capitalism memes or whatever, like, oh, this is late stage capitalism. That same idea can be extended to the subscription model, where I would say the late stage of the subscription model is the Legion artifact power system. That is complete. That was designed to basically manipulate people into having more playtime and keeping their sub fee going, so because they always need something to do, always have something to grind, always have something to progress. They never finish anything, and it's a way to, I would say, an unhealthy way to keep people playing the game. And the sole purpose of that system was to keep people subscribed, keep people logging in. But in a if you have just a pure free to play experience with a cash shop, if it's done right, you can just sell mounts and the game can be free to play, and it can be whoever's the best is the best still. There's still that way of playing. The problem is with the late stage capitalism version of this model, of the free to play model with a cash shop, is you end up with basically gambling and loot boxes and like paying for gear and just paying for power ups in the game. And that's when the integrity of the game has failed. And I would say that is worse than the subscription and the box copy model. But on the flip side, there's a free to play model where people can make insane profit margins from simply just designing cosmetics. And then the whales like cosmetics, they like buying it. And the reality is, the fact that you know that they bought that cosmetic, it like there's still a status about, oh well, that's just a bought one. But when you see someone who's earned one from a mythic raid or something, I know you can buy that now with your boost, but for example, like let's say you earned it legit, someone who earned that legit is still gonna have like that status, like, oh, they worked for it, they earned it. Or maybe the high rank glad mounts at retail. So you can still have that separation of the separation of clout, I guess, of who worked harder for what. But ideally, I think the way it should be done is, at least for a private server, is a cash shop with maybe like contract someone every couple months to release a new mount on the store or something. Because like, we'll use Turtle WoW as an example. Turtle WoW is clearly not a for free project. Maybe it's even if they're doing it out of passion, people still want to make money from their passion, right? So I'm not saying they're not passionate or whatever, or they are passionate. I'm not making any claims by that because I have no idea. But the reality is, people want to make money when they are doing something, regardless of passion. And if we're gonna have custom content, custom raids, we're paying designers, we're paying staff. The reality is, these people, they gotta hire people to do this. Even like the cybersecurity thing, like who's doing that cybersecurity thing? If you have a big server with 10k people, you gotta have a guy that knows what the fuck they're doing with cybersecurity. And like, that's not easy to find. That's a pretty niche field of expertise. So, and maybe there is some overlap with WoW private servers, but the reality is they're probably gonna have to hire and pay someone to do that. So relying on donations alone, I don't think is enough for a big server, especially when you're adding custom content. So the reality is, so well, how do we handle the profit question? How do we handle the financial question with World of Warcraft, right? Like how or with the Turtle WoW? Because there is a question and there's options, right? So there's the donations, whatever, yada yada, that's good. But what kind of stuff are we going to be selling? Are we going to be generating characters behind the scenes, generating gold behind the scenes and selling it just to make bank? Or are we going to be selling XP boosts or 40 slot bags? I mean, Turtle Ball already does sell some stuff that's on the border of, I wouldn't say it's pay to win, but it's definitely pay for convenience, like the portable auction house and banker. And the way I play the game, I only play with my friends, so I don't necessarily care, but people making gold who have that do have a massive advantage for spending money. Well, not necessarily massive, but it's a sizable advantage with the portable bank meal and the portable auction house over people who don't spend any money. But I would say it's like a gray. That one's a gray area, and that's something that I could let slide. But other things such as directly selling gear or something is something that I can never accept in a game. I've never liked that. Always hated it. So the reality is, how do these private servers make money? And for me, I think just selling pets, mounts, maybe not transmogs. I don't know how I feel about the transmogs. I honestly wouldn't give a fuck personally, but pets and mounts is probably the best way. And Blizzard made more on that Spectral Steed mount, the first one they did. I think that was the first one. That game, that mount made more money than the Wings of Liberty StarCraft 2 expansion. So it's kind of hard to, imagine being the guys that made an entire expansion for a game, like a passion project, but like the whales and just like peons who buy this junk. And see, I don't buy any of this shit. I don't give a fuck. I always rock default skin in every game. Like, man, I don't even, I mean, you can spend your money on whatever you want, but people like being parted with people like parting with their money. They don't like saving it. We gotta have something to fill the void in our meaningless lives, and to give meaning for 10 minutes, you gotta spend your money on some pixel horror. So there's nothing wrong with selling stuff to people like that. If that's what they want to spend their money on, then fuck it, spend their money. And those people that like to waste their money fund me playing the game for free, is the way I see it. And even like people always talk about, oh, they're trying to sell to the Chinese this, China. Like, who fucking cares? If the Chinese have a different culture than us, their culture is that of status. It's like money and status and wealth, and they like to display that in game through cool cosmetic items, and a lot of times they like pay to win. But see, there's a compromise: is you can just sell to the Chinese, sell them cool like flex stuff, like, oh, here's this fucking epic golden fucking mount or something, and they'll buy it. And if the Chinese want to fund the development of or fund the developers so we can get new content, new raids, and a horizontal vanilla WoW experience, then why am I here complaining about it? Like, I'm not spending any money, and a Chinaman that buys a golden fucking chariot mount still gonna die the same way in PvP to me, regardless if they have the mount or not. It's still 100% mount. So fuck it, let them market to the Chinese. Like, who cares? Let them make money. Let them sell stuff. I don't care, as long as it's not direct power increases. Like, if they sit there and, okay, we're gonna show another talent points, like, that's fucked, right? That's when the game becomes fucked. That's when the integrity of the game is under threat. And this discussion has been a thing for years, but I don't know. I've just kind of accepted that the private server devs got to make some bank, basically. And for an MMO, I'm not convinced that the subscription and box copy model is the best. And I'm also, like, the donation shop is technically the best, but you're not going to be able to have people developing brand new content on a fucking peanut salary. And if they do, it's gonna be something that's super slow paced, even slower than this. Like you can't. People aren't gonna be working full time. They'll maybe be working like